Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I don't want to appear all smug and full of I told you so, but I am feeling rather smug, and I did tell you so. There's an article here that is agreeing with the news that I brought you yesterday, because I said it first, that Kate Forbes attacking the leadership was the opening salvo in her battle for the leadership. She is going to make that challenge. And now other people, pollsters, strategists, those electoral experts who read the runes, the political oracles, call them what you will. They're all starting to come around to agree with what I said previously. That it is game on and that she is going to go for it. So do hit the subscribe button so you don't miss more truths and wonderfulness that comes from the channel, who understands what is going on and can see it, and I hopefully presents it in such a good way. There you go, I've got my ego out of the way. We'll now move on to the story because it is becoming apparent and obvious now that that is the case, and that Kate Forbes has had enough, and a lot of people are backing her for some serious big change within the party. Do apologise for my smugness, but it's just nice when you're proved right, isn't it? Let's have a look and see what's going on. Here goes. So, I bring you this story ahead of everyone else. Kate Forbes is now in open rebellion against Humza Yousaf as she plots her leadership bid in 2024. The former finance secretary is using live ammunition as she positions herself as the natural successor should the Nats have a nightmare general election. And lo and behold, the very, very previous story I did was all about the terrible, terrible polling results that will mean a terrible, terrible nightmare general election. You see, we don't just throw this channel together, folks. We lead you along a garden path. So we've set that up, and now we're giving you this. See? It's all professional. That's why I ask you to hit the subscribe button so you can keep up. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. Anyway, Kate Forbes is no longer disguising her intention to mount a fresh SNP leadership bid in 2024. I think she too has absorbed the motto this year of this channel, which is show them the door in 24. But in her case, it's show him the door in 24, referring to the great leader, the wise one, the man that is about to lead them into an absolute electoral disaster. A former finance secretary has now been accused of using live ammunition in her battle against Humza Yousaf. The term live ammunition meaning what? The truth, facts, his own inabilities, his own history, his own actions, his own words. We all use them. Anyway, Miss Forbes narrowly missed out on the Nat leadership last year to Mr. Yousaf, despite her socially conservative views, no more than his. At least she's not sort of a member of the group that calls for the death of gay people, unlike his group. Anyway, and Mr. Yousaf's backing from the party establishment. I mean, mention that as well. He scraped literally fingernails over the line with having the whole of the party machinery backing him. She did it all on her own and very, very nearly got it. And I think that is the biggest point. She'll get it this time. Even the party machinery have had enough of the wise one, Old Ali Baba is sitting there now and he knows he's done. His goose is well cooked. Anyway, the Highland MSP came close to taking over from Nicola Sturgeon in a bitter battle for Bute House. And it turns out that by winning it, of course, it was an absolute poison chalice for Ali Baba. I mean, with all the stuff that then came out, I mean, he has been the absolute fall guy. And of course, she now is going to walk in to a party that's already had all those problems come out, but he's absorbed them all. He is the Judas goat, really, if you like, because she's going to walk in all clean with having all this already out, and there's very few revelations left. Well, you want to hope, but I suspect there isn't. In fact, I know there isn't. There's at least one more to come out, which is pretty damn big. Anyway, initially settling for a quiet role on the backbenches, she has been careful not to overtly attack the SNP's record in government. Until yesterday, of course. But the past few weeks, she started to boost her profile, Ms Forbes has been publicly critical of the Butte House agreement between the SNP and the Scottish Greens, but then she's not the only one. Obviously, Fergus Ewing, much more critical and much earlier. And just this week, she piled more misery on Humza Yousaf when she called for reform of the NHS, the story we did yesterday. And a lot of people kind of went along with that. And I did say actually in yesterday's one, what the reform should be is a matter of conjecture, and we'll all have a different viewpoint on it. But I think that everyone, regardless of background or opinion on what should change, is firmly agreed that there must be some form of change. Blair McDougall, who masterminded the Nat defeat in the 2014 independence referendum, reckons it is a clear sign she is paving the way to challenge Mr Yousaf after the general election. I wouldn't be surprised if she challenged him before. He is not a leader. He's a seat warmer. Everyone knows it. Everyone's seen him in action, and they all know that he's not any good. He's literally rubbish. Useless, if we may use that term. It's a bit hackneyed now, but in this time, it's actually perfectly accurate. As a leader, he is useless. He doesn't lead. He has no balls. He has no spine. He has no ability to say to people, do as you're told. They just openly act against him, treat him with contempt. They wouldn't dare have done that to Sturgeon. Mr McDougall, who will also stand for Scottish Labour in the election, said that she had been on manoeuvres since her defeat to Mr Yousaf 9 months ago now, but was now using live ammunition. And writing in his notes on Nationalism blog, he said that she ended the year by opposing SNP tax rises, attacking the Scottish Greens, criticising NHS policy, and calling on Mr Yousaf to drop his gender reform legal battle, and going out of her way to answer questions on WhatsApp messages that the current and previous leader of the SNP had tried to avoid. She is being truthful and honest. Now, there's no such thing as an entirely honest MP or entirely honest politician of any brand, but she is being honest on this, although one suspects it's deliberate honesty. That is to say, she's being deliberately honest on this because she knows it causes damage to others. But that's the problem with the SNP. The truth and honesty and facts will always damage them because they do not deal day to day in the truth. They deal in lies, obfuscation, cover up, criminality, ineptitude, ignorance, stupidity. The list goes on. Anyway, he added, anyone who has worked in politics will recognise this activity as a campaign, which I did, which is why I said it yesterday. She has a message calendar and it is filling it with stories that say to an unhappy party that there is an alternative to failure. Now, I did contact her via her office, not directly, and I did ask her to come on and talk to me, and I would give her a very fair, indeed favourable hearing, because I think if she does become the next leader, she is at least sane, and I do have that. I do think that she would be the best possible SNP leader. I'm still anti-SNP, but I would give her that fair hearing, and I am hoping still. I still have a contact there, and I am still hoping to get her on and have a conversation with her. Just a short one, but I think it's beneficial. I mean, we're dealing with predominantly my audience of people who are against the SNP, but I think even you would relish the chance of getting her on here and me asking her a few very pertinent questions. But let's see. I don't know if she will. I don't know if she's confident of answering my questions. I suppose I'd have to do the questions in advance kind of thing. But hey, that's the price you pay. Anyway, I'm of the view, this is him saying, he says, I'm of the view that the panic switch to socially and economically conservative leadership would only deepen the SNP's problems, but it is clear that Forbes no longer feels she has to disguise her intentions. Yousaf's slow destruction of his party means that offering any alternative to him can be framed as a loyalty to the cause rather than a disloyalty to the party. Well, he's done so much damage. There are many, and I mean many in the party, who see him as an absolute liability, and they'll be looking for any excuse to ditch him. And if she comes along and says, look, it is bad, I can make this better, they'll go, yes. Whether she can make it better or not, they just want to get rid of him because he's so toxic now. Another political commentator reckons Miss Forbes could yet be scuppered by the date of the general election when the SNP is predicted to lose dozens of seats. Kenny Farquharson says an autumn vote may persuade Forbes' team to abandon their plans, as a subsequent leadership contest would then go into 2025, too close to the next Scottish election. Rubbish. It's a whole year away. An absolute whole year. And if on the day after the election, if he doesn't resign, you immediately do the challenge the day after the election. Because whenever it is, it's going to be a terrible result. And so bang in. And by the second month, say February 25, that gives you over a year until the next Scottish election. That's more than enough time to bed in. Writing in the Times, he said a May election would leave room for the SNP leadership contest over the summer and a result in the autumn. He said whoever won would then have a comfortably long run into the next election in May 26. Yeah, but I mean, even if it's October 25 or October 24 election and it's all done by, say, March 25, that's still a year. It's still an absolute year, over a year. You should be able to sort that out in a year. A year of leadership, you position the party. I mean, it's not going to win, but what you can do is soften the loss, effectively. Anyway, in contrast, a leadership campaign that goes into 2025 would cut it fine for the new First Minister to establish her credibility in government and unite her party before Scots went to the polls again. Farquharson added, all this assumes that the SNP has a stinker of a general election, and I think we can agree it's going to have worse than a stinker of an election. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. 15 seats? I'm going to make a prediction, and you can hold me to this. I'm going to make a prediction that it gets down to single figures in Westminster. Confident of it. Absolutely confident. Anyway, the party is abuzz with speculation about whether a poor general election result would persuade Forbes to make her play. Another theory has Yousaf quitting of his own volition, citing pressures of the job. Well, yeah, I mean, he's going to have words, or people will have words with him. It'll be the men in grey kilts will come along and say, time to go. You've had your go. It hasn't worked out. You've proved to be rubbish, and it's time for you to sort of sod off back to the back benches. That way you can do no more damage. And then she will be straight in. Bang. Coming up. So there you go. It's not just me. The experts are now saying that Kate is going to go for it. I take no pleasure on being right. Who am I kidding? I love it. I absolutely love it. And I know that you are going to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, because you can now trust me with the news. You can now say, this guy named it, he's got it right. Because I look at everything. I see everything. I'm like, I don't know, like a spider sitting in the middle of his web looking out everywhere. And you can just see the movements, and it's just there. Years of playing office politics, you understand, and years of watching how politicians manoeuvre. They're all secretive, horrible people. But you have to be to go into politics. You have to be pretty ruthless to go into politics. But you can see and you recognise the games they play. And that's what you do. Anyway, there we go. Draw that one to a conclusion. Do please hit the subscribe button. As I say, I think I've earned it. I definitely think I've earned the subscription. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.